Back in October last year, my father passed away. We struggled to find the right care and assistance to be able to get him back home. So he ended up passing away in the hospital. So me and my son thought, can we do anything to improve these things? There's that many policies, procedures, lots of different things that you have to set up yourself. They give you some of that. Plus you've got that support network there as well that you can reach out.
Welcome to another episode of the Leading Communities podcast. It's a platform where we help develop discussions on topics vital to local communities, offer insights from both leadership perspectives and the community's viewpoint. Join us as we explore the issues, stories and experiences that shape our communities and inspire change. Now, in this episode, we'll be diving into the world of small business entrepreneurship in Sandwell through the eyes of a local business owner. We have Christopher Taylor. He's the Managing Director of Bridgewater Home Care Sandwell. Now, that's a home care provider offering a range of services from companionship and meal preparation to palliative and live-in care. Thanks for joining me, Christopher. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Nice to meet you.
So let's start at the beginning. Just tell us really what inspired you to start your business. It's a fairly new business that you've got involved in. So what started the process?
Well, basically back in October last year, my father passed away. And when he passed away, we struggled to find the right care and assistance to be able to get him back home. So he ended up passing away in the hospital. Which he didn't want to happen, but unfortunately we couldn't avoid it. But apparently when I was chatting with people, this happens quite regularly. Me and my son sat down because my wife's worked in the care industry for a long time, but she's since moved into working in a hospital because she wasn't happy with like the conditions and the pay and the way they were treated and different bits and pieces. So me and my son thought, can we do anything to improve these things and improve the quality of service within Sandwell. That's why we looked at doing franchising. The reason I went with Bridgewater Home Care is basically the founder has got a very similar story to myself and it resonated with me. And although they're mainly based up in the north around Bolton, Wigan, Runcorn, Halton, all around that area, their values and the way they do things sat right with me. So obviously I've taken up the first franchise in Sandwell, and it's a very, very small franchise at the moment. So it's at the very, very beginning. So it's quite exciting. But if we can replicate what they're doing in Bolton and Wigan and Warrington and Halton, then the quality of service that we can deliver in this area is going to be really, really good. There is lots of things that you can do from caring for adults through to the elderly. So what we've tried to do is we tried to focus our efforts to deliver a good quality service within the dementia area. So we're going to be focusing on dementia mainly and becoming the go-to people for home care providers in Sandwell for dementia. The other aspect that I'm looking at is for any adults, young adults to older adults who've served in the forces, because I'm a veteran myself. Right. So I want to focus on giving veterans good quality care because there's not a lot out there really, and there's not really a lot of support, because if someone goes into a care home with a military background, not many people can relate to that really. So I want to try and provide a service where that's comfortable for them and suits them and is personal to them in their own home. So they stay in their own home for as long as possible, rather than going into these environments where they don't feel comfortable and they can feel very isolated and alone. Even though they're surrounded by people, they're not people with similar experiences. So it's really, really hard for them. We want to try and take that away a little bit really.
Now, I'd imagine from what you've just said there, because it's clearly something you're very passionate about, and whether it's seeing the experiences through your wife's eyes, seeing it through your father's eyes, and as you say, even as a former veteran yourself and understanding the needs that are there, there's clearly a lot of passion that's brought you to this business. But let's talk about some of the practical aspects in actually, firstly, starting a business up that I'm guessing you didn't have care experience personally.
No.
Right, so we'll talk about that. And then also just what it's like to set a franchise up. But let's start off with, setting up a business that's not necessarily your expertise. What's that been like for you?
It's been really eye-opening. Like I say, as a veteran coming out of the forces, the transition from the forces to civilian life is huge. People don't realise how different things are. It's a really big adjustment to make. And coming into the business world, obviously, you do get a little bit of autonomy in the military, but not a lot. There is certain guidelines that you have to follow, and you have to stick within them. There's a little bit of grey, but not much. Whereas within this business world, it's me, it's my son, it's our decisions. Are you making the right decision? Are you making the wrong decision? Are you spending money in the right places? Are you spending it in the wrong places? Who's the right person to speak to? So one thing I've always tried to do is find experts in certain areas. So then I'll rely on them to use their knowledge to help me, and I can learn from that.
Has it been easy to find those expertise?
To start with, not really. It was quite awkward, and then we stumbled upon Aspire for You, and we stumbled on obviously the Sandwell Startup Hub and that, and then that led us to meeting with Kit, and we did a course on starting up a new business and things to do and things not to do, plus it was with other people as well who were starting up new businesses, so we all had similar circumstances and experiences, but certain people were further along the line than others, so they could say, oh, have you tried this, have you tried that, and it gave you a lot of food for thought, and it made you feel like you weren't alone, there was help out there. So rather than like trying to muddle along thinking, oh God, you can reach out to people and say, I've got this, what can I do, what would you do, what can I do, and things like that. So, yeah.
Interesting. Franchise is not always the type of model that people go for straight away. Obviously, you've done the research because you've already talked about why Bridgwater actually resonated with you. Yeah. But again, what's it been like actually establishing a franchise? Do you feel like that's maybe helped the journey be a little bit easier, or does it come with different challenges?
I think it comes with different challenges. It has made the journey a lot easier. If I was to start up a home care business right from the ground, there's that many policies, procedures, all different kinds of software, websites, lots of different things that you have to set up yourself, and it's like, I just dread to think the amount of work that takes and the time and the effort and the hours that you have to put into it. Whereas with the franchise, they give you some of that already. So they give you like your branding, they give you your website, you've got your policies and procedures because you're working on what works for them. Plus you've got that support network there as well that you can reach out and say, I'm having a bit of difficulty, what do I do here, what do I do there? And in the home care sector, you've got the Care Quality Commission. So obviously you have to apply to the Care Quality Commission to get your registration so that you can do some personal care and different bits and pieces. So that process itself is quite hard. So having someone to hold your hand through that, as to speak, is quite useful. So that's where the franchise comes in really well.
So from the point of view making the decision of this is what we want to do, yeah, to the point of view getting yourself up and running, registered and in a position to actually do the support that you're set up to do, what was that time period?
Well, yeah, I'm quite impulsive. So when I decide I'm going to do something, everything happens quite quickly. So like something silly, like an example of that is like me and the wife will say, oh, should we go and have a look what holidays are available? You can pretty much guarantee that I'm coming out with a holiday, yeah, or a car. I'm buying a car. Yeah. Like I don't think about it. I don't dally. Once I've decided, and yeah, that's it. So me and my son made the decision. Obviously, it was probably around about November. We did the research and looked into different franchises that were available because there's lots of domiciliary care franchises out there, and there's probably more well-known franchises in the area nationally that I could have gone for. But obviously, like I say, Phil Eckersley, who's the founder of Bridgewater Home Care, his story and the way he does things really sat well with me and made me feel really comfortable. So basically the time frame, November, we got in touch with Phil. We had some meetings with Phil to make sure that we were comfortable with him, he was comfortable with us. And it all felt really good. There's really good family environment within the franchise. So yeah, we decided to pull the trigger, as I say, and it all happened very quickly. We started, so we were set up and the whole process was complete. Started trading in May. So we did the course with Kit at the very beginning of May, and then at the end of May we've then been trying to trade. So because we've not got the CQC registration, it's slowing us down a little bit, because that can take up to 6 months sometimes. So we've got to try and find companionship, meal preps, housekeeping, all these things to try and keep us ticking over until we get that registration.
Gotcha.
So that's where we're at in the process at the moment. We have actually got, I know it sounds bad, we've only got one client at the moment, but we've got that client and we're looking after him like he's the king at the moment, to be honest with you. Doing companionship, I mean, we've been taking him out bowling, taking him to the gym, just trying to get him out and as active as possible, doing things. And he actually looks forward to that. So we've seen him a couple of times a week.
No, but that's good, isn't it?
No, he is really enjoying it.
And I mean, you've started to touch on what some of the challenges are, because I was going to get into that, and just what some of the difficulties are as a brand new business, and as you say, even as a franchise. And it seems that waiting to get that registration and going through that process means that it's to an extent slowing down some of the progress you'd be liking. Do you feel like there is enough support that's in place to help with things like this, and to help you get over these initial humps, or would you say this is where maybe some work needs to be done?
I think maybe a little bit of work needs to be done, because don't get me wrong, I think there's lots and lots of things out there that can help people, and there's lots of charities and lots of support networks. The unfortunate thing is that they're not very well publicised or advertised. So you've got people who are doing great things, but people don't know about it. And that's part of the problem. Is you have to speak to, as what I do is I'm trying to network a lot at the moment. And as I speak to each new person, they'll then say, oh, do you know such and such? And I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that. Right. And that's how I've been finding out about things. But when you search through the internet, it's muddy water, and some of the really good things don't appear on the first few pages. They appear a lot further down. So you have to scroll through everything, trying to find what you need.
Yeah, and sort of search. What about the journey with the CQC, Care Quality Commission? I know they're not the easiest organisation to navigate.
I'll be honest with you, we've been trying to build a relationship locally with the CQC people. However, we got in touch with CQC and they weren't happy to share the details of the local people with us. I'm not sure the circumstances. They said it was because of GDPR. But for me, if we can, it's all about, I want to work together with even other home care providers who you consider competitors or charities. I want to try and work together with everybody to try and deliver a better service so we can help each other, and then it's better for the individual, and it keeps them out of hospital and it keeps them out of care homes, and then that isn't taking up beds in the NHS and different things, because we're being proactive rather than reactive to the situations. So rather than them getting to hospital and then us thinking, oh, what can we do? We can see things earlier and flag them to different people and deal with issues before they become a major problem.
Do you feel like then that speaks to maybe some of the working in general within the Black Country area, and how as the area we can improve the way our health services work together and sort of become a little bit more joined up?
Yeah, I think so. I think it could, across the Black Country, we could do a lot more. There's a gentleman called Deska who deals with the Caribbean community, and they're based in West Bromwich. And he's very, very passionate about joined up work. And that's one of the reasons I want to try and embed myself within the dementia community, because they're doing a lot of good work within the dementia community. Plus you've got a better understanding of Dementia Sandwell, who do daycare. And then you've got St Albans, who also do daycare for dementia specifically. But if we can all work together, we can get a better outcome, because at the moment there's things called, you've got private paying clients, and then you've got clients that come through the council, and it's called direct payments. Now the direct payments, I'm not 100% sure at the moment what it's at, but it was around £17–18 an hour that they were paying to care for somebody. And now this is why the quality of care isn't where it should be, because basically for me to send someone out for an hour with someone, once you take into account pensions, holidays, different sickness pay, all the different things, that person's costing me around £17.50 to £18 for the hour.
Right.
So if they're giving me £17 to £18, it's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not even covering the cost of the person.
Yeah,
it's barely covering the cost of the person.
Yeah.
So, and within the country, this area is one of the lowest paying ones. Right. So if you go up north, they're looking at like £22 to £23 an hour, which, although the margins aren't great, at least there's still something there, so that people can then, because what you find is, if you're making these small margins, people then call cram. So if I'm going to spend an hour with somebody, I want to spend a good quality hour with them, spending time doing the things that they want to do, making sure that they're getting from it what they want to get. Whereas some people who are with the council and that, they'll call cram. So they'll fit as many clients into an hour as they can, and that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
Because they're spending like 15–20 minutes with a person rather than the whole hour.
Yeah.
And then if they get 5 people within that hour, then that makes up their money, rather than me spending good quality time with that person for an hour and making nothing.
Yeah, and I suppose that presents a huge challenge, because, from your point of view, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost seems like a false economy.
Yeah, I feel like that. But when I was speaking with Deska, it was very interesting, because he's starting to make collaborations with people and form groups to try and tackle this. So I think if myself and my competitors and everybody cannot see each other like competitors, because there's more than enough people out there for everyone. The community and the population as a whole is just getting older and older and older. People are living for a lot longer. So there's more than enough out there. I think we need to come together. So rather than going to the council individually, we can go as a collective, and then hopefully as a collective we can then drive that price up, because we can say, look, if you want good quality of service, it's the old adage, you get what you pay for. Yeah. And although even at £17, I'd still want to deliver the best quality of care, unfortunately not everybody's got the same ethos.
No, indeed, and what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Just thinking about the future then for your business, you've talked a lot about what the vision is. When the registration comes through, how do you see the company growing? Just thinking about it from a business standpoint.
Yeah. I'm nervous, but I've registered to a website called Bark. So basically, Bark generates leads in the area. And then they send through the information of individuals who are looking for your services, and then you can then follow up with calls, emails, and make contact with them and try and win that business. So on a daily basis, I'm getting lots and lots of inquiries coming through for personal care, for medication, for continence support. But unfortunately at this moment, because I've not got the CQC registration, I can't bid for that work or put myself forward to try and help that person. So yeah.
Do you know how long it will take?
How long's a piece of string? Basically, they've just changed the way that the CQC operates, so there's a new framework in place. So the old framework, it was taking sometimes up to 12 months for people to get a registration.
Oh,
Now, on the website, it's saying between 10 to 16 weeks with the new process.
right.
However, I think that's probably a bit optimistic, to be honest with you.
Gotcha.
So I'm basing myself around 5-6 months, and I've got my fingers and toes and everything crossed
Well, that it can come
that
sooner.
it can come through sooner, or that's going to be the latest it comes through. Because at this moment in time, I'm having to, because I've not got any clients, everything is coming out of my own pocket. So there's a lot of money, and I'm in the process of looking for loans, etc., to try and bring some more money in to keep me ticking over until I can get these extra clients in to then start building the business.
Yeah.
I think once that CQC registration comes through, sky's the limit. It'll take off from there. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people or home care providers, they'll fall during that 6 to 12 months because
Yeah,
they
'cause it's a
can't
long
afford
time.
to sustain it.
Yeah, because it is a very long time.
It
and,
is, yeah.
And every month, as you know, the bills are not stopping, are they?
No, no, I've still got to pay for the office. I've still got to pay because I've not been in the healthcare sector. To get a CQC registration, I needed a registered care manager.
Right.
So I've had to employ a registered care manager. Now, to get a good quality care manager, you need to be paying decent money, sometimes £40,000 upwards a year. I got very lucky. I landed with someone who shares my ethos, who just moved into the area and was willing to take a little bit less money because she understood the situation I was in, on the understanding that if we get the registration and then we deliver this good service and we move along and we grow, I can reward her further down the line.
Yeah.
So that's good for me, but it's still a lot of money that I'm paying out. But I mean that's business. But
It is, but at the same time, it's one of those, isn't it? Because what there becomes a danger of is that you've got all of this plan in place, you've got the structure, you've done a lot of the groundwork, you know what needs to happen. For the sake of one piece of paper, for lack of better wording, I know it's a very valuable piece of paper, but you know, that actually without the right kind of support, things could fall to the wayside. And as you say, in some instances, people maybe have set out with the best of intentions, the best plan, and actually because something's taken 12 months, it's become unsustainable for them in that time. Just speaking about actually accessing finance and going through that process, is that something that you're finding is, I'm not going to say easy to navigate, but feels doable, or is it something that's actually feeling quite challenging?
it's feeling quite challenging at the moment. I mean, when I first started up, I looked at the British Business Bank
Right.
for a start-up loan.
Yeah.
Now, because I'm in the home care sector, I got actually rejected
Just
for the loan because it was the sector. And what they were looking at is a lot of businesses had gone in and they were starting with like a £50,000 loan, which is a lot of money. But then, because of how long the CQC registration is taking to come through, they were then having to go back and ask for more money.
Right.
So on that basis, they've stopped
Yeah.
lending really to businesses like myself.
Yeah.
So now I'm having to go through the bank process. So I'm looking with the HSBC because they deal with franchises, and also my founder banks with them as well. So they know the model, they know how it works. So hopefully that will work in my benefit, and we can do it that way. However, when I've spoken to them and put all the figures and everything in with my business plan, rather than going 50,000, they've suggested, because of this delay with the CQC, I need to go that little bit higher. So they said, we'd rather you ask for a bit more money now than we give you that and then come back asking for more. So yeah, and it's a minefield. It's really, really scary because I've still got a mortgage to pay.
Yeah.
I've got 3 kids. I've got to put food on the table. I've got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Presents challenges, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, I'm in a position where I've got a little bit of money backing me up. But that's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
So my pot is getting. It's quite worrying when I look and I see it and I think, oh my god. And I'm calculating how much longer is this going to last.
Yeah, if there's any consolation, I've definitely been there. So I completely understand. And the fortunate thing and the hopeful thing, particularly as it seems like you're doing all of the right things, is that as you say, that it will come through and will come through in a way that then allows you to move forward. And you seem to have a very robust strategy in place.
Yeah, I hope so. Because what we're trying to do as well is we're not just trying to give good quality care. I want to try and improve it for the care specialists themselves as well. I want to try and change the way that people look at caring for people. So rather than just being, oh, you white bums, there's a bit more to it than that.
Yeah.
You've got the possibility of having a very good career. So you can't come in as a care specialist. You do your different qualifications that will help put you through, and then you can process through so you can become a care manager in the future. So there is that line there, and I'm working with Sandwell College to try and work with their students so we can show them that there is a career out there, and it's a good career, and it's somewhere where you can earn a good wage as well.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Christopher, did you ever imagine that this is what you'd be doing?
No. I'll be honest with you, I got medically discharged from the forces, from the RAF. I did 18 and a half years. Now, within the RAF, I was signed on for my 22, but if I hadn't got medically discharged, I could have stayed in till I was in my 50s. So, for me, I saw myself still being in the forces.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very like, whoa. And it took me a while to navigate my way through civilian life. I've worked with a couple of companies, but I feel like if I can make this work, I think this is what, from a selfish point of view, this makes me feel happy.
Yeah.
And makes me feel like I've got a purpose, and it also feels good that because I'm working with my son, it could possibly be a legacy for our family. Yeah. So moving forward, his children, their children after them. So that's the way I'm thinking of it, and it makes me feel good.
No, like I say, it's something I can see you're very passionate about, and with it, that within itself is a huge part of the journey. Yeah. What advice would you give to anybody else who hears your story and thinks, yeah, you know, I'd like to follow a similar path. It might not be in care, it might be in another area, but redefining your purpose and redefining their purpose. What advice would you give?
Sometimes the hardest step is the first one. We can find too many excuses not to do something, whereas just take the plunge. Do it. Don't sit 10 years down the line thinking, oh, what if I'd done this? But then when you do take the step, don't be too proud or scared to ask for help. Yeah, there's lots of people out there. You've got the Black Country Chamber of Commerce, which I've now joined. Obviously, you've got the Sandwell Startup Hub. There's lots of things out there that I think sometimes do need publicising a little bit better, but you can get that support. You're not alone. There's lots and lots of people who've been through similar circumstances who've taken that leap. So, yeah, take the leap. You're not alone.
That's amazing. Christopher, thank you so much for sharing with us. It's really been insightful. I wish you the very best of luck, although with the passion that I see you have, I'm very confident that things will come through. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again in future with registration in hand, really
Fingers
showing
crossed.
showing them how it's done here in Sandwell. So thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you
for joining us for another episode of the Leading Communities podcast. We'll be back with more very, very soon. But in the meantime, I hope you take something positive from Christopher's story, and also, where possible, support his journey. Thank you so much. See you again.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to keep up to date with all things Leading Communities.